campaign. As a majority's memorandum stated, the FISA judge was never informed that Hillary Clinton and the DNC funded the dossier that was a basis for the Department of Justice's FISA application. In addition, the minority's memo fails to even address the fact that the deputy FBI director told the committee that had it not been for the dossier, no surveillance order would have been sought. As the president has long stated, neither he nor his campaign ever colluded with the foreign power during the 2016 election, and nothing in today's memo counters that fact. Sarah Sanders, White House press secretary. The big question still remains, Rikki, did the Trump campaign collude with the Russians? What do we know at this point?
Well, I don't think that we have any knowledge if the Trump campaign or members of the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians at all. There may be, there may not be. The only people who know that are in the special prosecutor's office as they continue their investigation, or if in fact something happens, the people who did it themselves. Certainly, Robert Mueller has run a very tight shop, as we would expect him to do. He is a highly trained professional. He is not out there, as many people in the media have said, that his ultimate goal is to get to the president. That is not his ultimate goal. Robert Mueller, as I have known him for many, many years, his ultimate goal is to follow the facts and the truth wherever it takes him. If it takes him to a conclusion that there was collusion with members of the Trump campaign and the Russians, he will find that. If it takes him to a conclusion that there was no collusion whatsoever, he will find that. He is really a person who does not have a bias, in my personal opinion. So we don't know ultimately what the result will be. What we do know before this memo came out today, from the amount of activity that has happened during the last week, is that a very painstaking, slow investigation where Robert Mueller was developing theme after theme, idea after idea, and evidence that supported these themes and ideas, has suddenly started to rush. What we see is that now we have a number of guilty pleas of cooperators. What we see is the indictment of the 13 Russians. And we haven't even gotten to the level yet of hacking, where we do know there was hacking, at least as the media has reported it. And we certainly have not gotten to the level of collusion. So I do think that from something that has moved with all deliberate pace, that now we are speeding up and we will get more answers. Certainly, with the plea yesterday of Rick Gates, we believe that Rick Gates will be cooperating, obviously, against Paul Manafort, and whether or not that will lead to something involving collusion still remains an open question. Going back to the president's press secretary's statement, it was well drafted. It was what I would expect to hear, and you do have the fact that certainly one could say, as was shown in the Nunes memo, the Republican memo, that yes, sure, it would have been better if the DOJ, when it went forth to get this FISA warrant against Carter Page, had gone all the way with the knowledge being communicated that the Steele dossier was eventually paid for through the Hillary Clinton campaign. It had started, you might remember, with Republicans, but it did end up with the Clinton campaign. Nevertheless, since they did not do that, the question remained, what else was there that they did do, that is DOJ, to show the FISA court that they had enough probable cause to get the FISA warrant? And I think that this memo certainly goes a great way toward that conclusion. As you know, Rena, people will look at both of these memos, or each of them, and most people will say, if they were fans of the administration and the administration's point of view and the Nunes memo, they will still adhere to that. And if they were waiting for the Schiff memo, the Democratic memo, and they see it as a vindication because they believed it would be, that's how they will see it. So unfortunately, in this polarized society, very few minds will be changed.
Rikki Klieman, CBS News senior analyst and former assistant director. Senior analyst. I'll leave it at that there, Rikki. Thank you very much for joining us.